Hi everyone, I am Catherine from Peace Etc. and I guide people who grew up in mentally and emotionally dysfunctional homes to become secure and safe in themselves and improve their self-esteem and self-worth through inner child healing. So what I've noticed since really learning to unconditionally love myself and live life without conditions that I had growing up is that I am doing much less. When you are living with conditions, you feel like you need to do so much in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, and to feel worthy and valuable. Whether you are doing something outwardly or you're just being, you're busy. When you're just being, when you're living as your conditioned self, you're so busy in your head internally. You have thoughts running through your head about what you should be doing, what you could be doing, and all the possible scenarios that could happen. Scenarios that you're trying to create and make happen so that you feel loved and accepted, to feel worthy and valuable, but also the nightmares, like the scenarios of what could go wrong and what could possibly be going wrong? And there's so many ways and so many things that could go wrong. So your thought space, your head space is very busy when you're living as your conditioned self. And emotionally as well, you're constantly in the state of like rockiness and instability because you're not feeling safe. So it's like your thoughts and your emotions bounce off of each other. You're not at peace in your body when you're living in conditioned as your conditioned self. Your thoughts are telling you, oh, like you need to be doing something and sending these busy ripples. And in your body, internally, your feelings are telling you, oh, I'm not safe. Da, 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 da. Oh, I have to be doing da, 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 da. Like you feel anxious. And then that feeds your thoughts. And then it's like this loop, negative loop that gets created. And on top of that, when you're living as your conditioned self, you have all these rules and like equations in your head of in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, to experience something, I have to do this. That's a condition, right? If I am X, then Y will happen. So you gotta you kind of reinforce yourself to keep being a certain way or to, do this and that so that you experience whatever that is on the other side of the equation. But I've noticed that once I've really built safety within and security and began loving myself, trusting myself no matter what, accepting myself no matter what, I'm not so busy. Like I'm not doing much. At least not as much as I used to before. Because I already know that I am accepted and loved just by being me, with my shadows and my light, all of it, I don't need to compensate for anything. I don't need to be anything other than me to experience what it is that I want to experience. I know that I don't need to be anyone other than me in order to be loved and accepted. All of me. And so these like equations have disappeared. And before they are let go, before I actively let them go and reinforce ways of being that are unconditioned, and unconditional love for myself, that's rooted in unconditional love for myself, I see them and I'm like, wow, like in order to experience trust, I thought I needed to do this, that, and that, and that. Like, fuck, that's a lot. And you see how exhausting it is to live as your conditioned self versus your unconditioned self. Your unconditioned self is chill. Like chill in a way of like, yes, You can be passionate and you can get fiery. You're not like stagnant or um, just lying down, but there's a sense of so much peace and trust, of course. You're not controlling your environment, so you have that much more energy. And because you know that you don't need to control for things to happen for you to experience what it is that you want to experience, and even better, then like there's so much energy, so much space, so much time left over for you to experience life with. And I gotta just put a disclaimer that living as your unconditioned self doesn't mean that you won't ever experience challenges or hardships. No, life is life. Whatever it is that's meant to evolve you, to help you evolve, and to make you grow, it'll happen. Some things unexpected. But still, living as your unconditioned self, you get to be much more chill. Like you get so much more peace. And you experience being in your heart and your heart opening, what that feels like when you see these equations that you had for yourself, the conditions right in front of you, presented right in front of you, and you're like, wow, I don't need that anymore. That's so heart opening. And I can't wait for you to experience that, because as you take yourself through your healing and empowerment and discovery, that's what you discover. That's what you get to heal as well. And let go of ways you thought you needed to be in order to experience life, and in order to experience the life that you wanted. And also to be you, to be more of you. To be honest, I'm just going off and channeling and speaking what's from my heart, that I don't remember what I started this message with. But it is what it is. Yeah, when you trust, you don't control, and you just are being. So when you build self-trust, you're not controlling yourself anymore. And you're trusting yourself more, trusting life more, trusting others more. The well inside of you gets full more easily and faster. And you're living from a place of more fulfillment, and your well of love and and your emotions like topped up, rather than just constantly doing and doing and doing and like leaking this well that's inside of you. And it's like when you're living with conditions, you have a hole in this well that cannot be fixed up until you begin loving yourself and you begin mending your own heart. It can start in however way, but it's you coming back to yourself and doing that for yourself that begins to build that new foundation in that well, where love can fill up and overflow, and you experience abundance in your life, and peace and love, trust, so much more. It all comes from within. There's something else that was the corner of my mind as I was speaking. Yeah, like life becomes much more calm, and because you're not efforting in the way you used to, where you're constantly thinking of something, constantly doing something, or thinking of doing something from an anxious state, because you're not doing that, life is more calm and peaceful, and also it becomes very much like no frills. But then you get so much more upgrades in your life, and the quality of your life and what you have in your life increases, it improves. Like I picture like a poster where like when you're living in conditions, someone's just like got like a million hands, and like you're trying to grab onto things and do things, and you're just so like scattered and all over the place. But when you're in your, like when you're connected to yourself and in yourself rather than outside of yourself, when you're more grounded and you trust yourself, you love yourself, you accept yourself, then it's like really all those hands that was trying to live up to your conditions, the conditions that you had in your head and the equations that you had in your head and your system, it just disappears and it falls away. So that poster becomes one of many hands to just you with two hands and just you. And that's always been acceptable. For me, I grew up in a dysfunctional home, so I can say that like I learned dysfunctional ways of being growing up in the dysfunction that was my home. It wasn't all bad, but I learned a lot of ways of being that was conditional. And unlearning that, I just came back to myself, me, this form, and I learned that that was acceptable. I didn't need to be anyone else, need to do anything other than what I felt called to do. You know, I didn't need to self-sacrifice in order to be loved and accepted. I think this is good for this video. So I hope that whatever I mentioned today resonates and helps you on your journey of self-healing, empowerment, and self-discovery. And I hope that you get to find what equations you're living in. Because the one equation that I've come to is that me equals lovable, worthy, valuable, just as I am. And the others, they can just go. So if you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And, and yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day whenever you're watching this. Ciao.